Y'all know I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I was listening to one this week, and I think I may have found one of my new favorite tools. So, this was an interview. I have to look up the guy's name, but he was interviewing Mel Robbins. And I don't know if you know her, but she wrote The High Five Habit, where you give yourself high five in the mirror. And she's written a couple of other good things, and she has her own podcast too. So the way she told it, her daughter was home from college one weekend, and it happened to be the weekend that her son, who was a junior in high school, was going to prom for the first time. And she said it was so much more complicated having a son go to prom than her daughter because her daughter had taken care of everything, weeks in advance with her dress and reservations and all the details. But with her son, he had nothing planned. So he did not have an outfit. They had to overnight shoes. He was going with a group of friends and then at the last minute decided he was taking a date, so they had to worry about the flowers. And had her son, his date, and some other kids all at their house, and she was taking pictures. The other parents were taking pictures, and it starts raining like a torrential rainstorm, hail, sideways rain. And she just started stressing out, like, "Oh my gosh, what are y'all gonna do? The dresses are gonna get ruined. We can't take pictures. And then, oh my gosh, where are you gonna eat?" It turns out he didn't have reservations anywhere. And so the other parents are jumping in too, and maybe we could order pizza, maybe we could make reservations here. Do you want me to call? And she said her daughter, who was home from college, looked at her and said, "Mom, let them. Let them go eat pizza if they want to eat pizza. Let them get their shoes dirty. Let them figure this out." And she said her son thought about it and was like, "Yeah, there's this little taco place we'd like to go." And she said it was tiny and it was not protected from the weather. But her daughter again said, "Mom, let them. Let them go eat tacos if they want to eat tacos. It's fine." And so as the week went on, she thought about this over and over. Let them. Let them. And Mel Robbins talked about how much energy and time we devote to trying to control what other people think and feel and do. And if you're a parent, if you have a partner, if you have a job, I know that this is probably an issue for you. So I was thinking about how this relates to burnout because burnout does not just come from out of the blue. It's not just all of a sudden I was burned out. You may realize you're burned out in an instant, but it took a while to get there. And it starts with overwhelm and stress. And this is like a clog in a drain. So, yes, it can happen if you stuff too much toilet paper down in a toilet. It can happen all of a sudden, but usually it's a slow build. I have a lot of hair. My daughter has a lot of hair, and she uses our bathroom most of the time to wash her hair. And my husband complains about this hair problem with our drain. And about every few months, he has to open it up and clean it out. And it is gross. I don't know if you've ever seen what clogs the inside of a drain, but it is gross. And burnout is like this, it builds slowly. And when it gets to that point where it has caused a clog, it's ugly. It's full of resentment, anger, blame, sometimes jealousy. It's full of all kind of bad stuff. And so how can you know that it's coming? Like, is there a way with this pre-burnout to sort of see it coming? And can using this tool, let them or let go, can this help? I mean, it makes perfect sense that if you could chip away at the clog or prevent a clog from forming, it's going to help. But the first thing you have to do is to notice. So you have to notice when you're doing this clinging and gripping. And I did it this week with I am so tired of kids losing coats. Last year, my son left a expensive, pretty new coat at a track meet, and we never found it. I looked for it, never found it. Um, this year, my daughter has already lost a coat, and I really want to, hammer home how much coats cost. And I want to go up to the school and look through the lost and found. But what if I just let them? Let them figure out that they are going to get cold, especially my son riding his bike to school when it's like 28 or 30 degrees. He is going to figure out that it's not a good idea to leave your coat places and then not care about going to find it. But what would this look like in your job? If you were able to let them or let go, what would this look like? And could it prevent burnout? I think it can. I really do. I'm not currently burned out, so I've learned to let them and let go, at least at work. Not really at home yet. I'm working on that. But with work, I thought back to my first burnout and all the things that I complained about, all the ugliness that made up that clog. And I tried to make a list. So one of my top parts of the clog, my biggest things was not enough help. Like I don't have enough medical assistance. We don't have enough people calling. We don't have enough people to do prior authorizations, just not enough help. I did not feel appreciated. Um, her office was inefficient as far as how we did things, and that drove me nuts. I had two little kids who needed me. So when they were sick, it was a huge impact on my workday. I'd either have to take them with me or figure out a last minute babysitter. For a while, my husband was driving back and forth to Atlanta. So I think that was part of the burnout too, was just trying to juggle everything. Um, I had health issues. My thyroid tanked, like totally gave up. Um, we had a big mortgage payment. We bought a house in 2008, and luckily we both had jobs, but we also had a, big mortgage payment at the time. I had a non-compete contract, so that was part of my burnout, was feeling like I didn't have any other options, sort of feeling trapped. People pleasing. Had this huge sense of loyalty to the practice, and I didn't want to betray that. I felt disloyal if I left. And then fear, just fear of what would happen, retribution, like what is going to happen if I leave. So all those things were making up my burnout. And if I could have gone back in time and let them, what would that look like? I think as far as coworkers, like the medical assistants, most of them were doing the best that they could do. And I had so much stress around, I want them to do this a certain way, or I want them in the room with me, in the room with me, taking notes. I want, the flow to look like this. I want the patients to get here, and within 10 minutes, I want them in the room. And it I created so much stress for myself by trying to control things that I could not control or control people that I could not control. If your spouse has a job that requires travel, it is what it is. Are you holding on to anger and jealousy and resentment? If you have bought a big house, and our house is not big, but it's in a nice neighborhood. So if that happens to you and you're like, well, I can't let go of that, you could let go of the stress around it. You could let go of the house if you had to. Fear is another one of those that we hold on to, and it seems impossible to let go of it, but you are choosing to hold on to that fear. So, what if you were able to let go? Or just, fear, You can pretend like fear is a person. Julia, not Julia Roberts. I was thinking about Julia Roberts because she plays Elizabeth Gilbert in Eat, Pray, Love. But if you were taking a cue from Elizabeth Gilbert and you talk to fear, she tells fear, I know you're going to be along for the ride. I know it's just gonna, you're gonna be in the car, but you're not allowed to get in the driver's seat. In fact, you're not allowed to sit in the front seat. You're gonna have to sit in the back seat and you're gonna have to be quiet. So, in this aspect, you're letting it voice its concern. Okay, you're freaked out about this. I hear you, but you're still gonna have to ride in the back seat. So, which of the things that you are currently really stressed about, which of those would change or improve if you were able to let go or let them? And not just your job, but think about your home life too. Are you like I am? And do you try to micromanage your kids? The caveat to this is you are a parent. You do have to keep your kids safe. So you're not allowed to let them stay out all night unless, they're much, much older. You still have to keep them safe. So don't let them if it means somebody's going to get hurt. But my husband was telling me he heard this statistic and we were both like laughing, but also we could kind of see how it was true. He said, um, 22% of Gen Zers who went on job interviews took a parent with them. Can you believe that? I can believe it because my son is 16 and he was talking about jobs, and I really wanted to go with him to the coffee shop and say, "Oh, he's a great kid. You should hire him." I didn't, but I wanted to. My daughter is supposed to be doing physical therapy for her knee. And it creates so much tension in the house because I am constantly writing her, what, about physical therapy and the rubber bands on her braces. And I need to just her. Let her. If she messes up her teeth and has to be in braces for another 2 years, well, she'll learn her lesson. If she doesn't do physical therapy and her knee hurts for track this year, well, she'll learn. So write out, okay, here's how you do this. Write out your list of stressors. Like what do you think is leading up to your burnout if you're heading in that direction? And if you're not, then watch out. Use this as a preemptive measure. Write out everything that's stressing you out right now. And then take a hard look at that and see which things can you control, which things could you let go of? And what would that look like? What would it feel like to let them? I mean, even just saying it sort of takes a weight off my shoulders. Let them. I had a situation Monday. The front office scheduled a patient, and it was somebody who really should have gone to the urgent care for a skin issue. Like we don't see people and put stitches in immediately. If they fail, they really need to go to the urgent care. So I saw this patient on my schedule. I saw their name and what they were coming in for, and I was like, this is not going to be they're gonna be mad because they set aside time in their day. They're gonna have to pay a copay. I probably can't help them. Like I went in this whole story in my head. It turned out fine. And I luckily did not say anything to anybody about it. I just let them because I had listened to this podcast on the way to work. So I thought, all right, I will let go. I will let them, and it worked out just fine. Last night, I cooked homemade chicken noodle soup. Homemade chicken noodle soup, y'all. And guess what my son said? I think I'm going to go get Zaxby's. I have a gift certificate from Christmas and I'm going to use it. And again, story in my head. He doesn't appreciate me. I'm letting him eat bad food. He's gonna, it's my fault if he ends up with heart disease in his 60s, like all this crap in my head. I kept my mouth shut and I said, the soup's really good, but if that's what you want to do. And he did. He went and got Zaxby's and it took 45 minutes for it to get ready. So while he was waiting, he did end up having a bowl of soup and he did say, this is really good. So let them. I want to hear from y'all. So let me know if you resonated with this podcast and share it with somebody else. And then I will catch y'all next week.